Get ready for this intro. Ado with I'm Invincible, the song we're checking out today, from the One Piece Red soundtrack, but it was written by and also released in a different version by Mrs. Green Apple, another band who I'm also checking out on this channel at the current moment, and therefore, do you know what, we're going to do something a bit different. We're going to check out the Ado version, that's what we're primarily here for, but we're also going to go back and have a little bit of a look at the Mrs. Green Apple version as well before we get into it, because whenever there's a song which is, well, a different version of something, I like to hear the two versions together during my reaction to give me like a fresh comparison I can work from. Now, the thing is, I falsely said, just a slip by accident, I said in one of my comments the other day that the Ado version is a cover, but of course it's not actually a cover. This is a song that was written by Mrs. Green Apple for Ado, and then Mrs. Green Apple just subsequently decided to release their own version of it, which is just, I mean, it makes sense, but it's just a bit weird, because it's like, well, okay, does that mean Mrs. Green Apple are covering Ado playing a song they wrote? It's like, how do we do that? I guess neither of them's covers, both of them are different versions. But as it was written for Ado, I kind of think that the Ado version, therefore, kind of has to be the... I mean, she was the person intended to sing it, right? So hers has to be the definitive version. So we're going to be checking out the definitive version. Now, what I'm going to say before I get into this, because this is actually also really relevant, totally by coincidence. This is totally by coincidence. I started doing my track-by-track reaction to the Ado One Piece Red album at the same time that I started doing my track-by-track reaction to Mrs. Green Apple's Antenna album, the two albums that contain the versions of this. This is totally by coincidence that this has happened. So my reaction to I'm Invincible by Mrs. Green Apple, wow, look how happy I am. I didn't expect that to come up on screen. My reaction to this version has already come out. But because that was a few days ago and recorded a couple of weeks ago, let's have a little listen to this first of all, the Mrs. Green Apple version. Once again, what I usually do when I'm listening to multiple versions, I'm only going to probably listen to this through to maybe the first chorus. Let's just see how much we need to take in to get a good feel for it, to really map it out, remember the kind of balance, and so you guys can hear it as well, just in case you haven't. Then we'll get into what we're here for, which is today's reaction to the Ado version. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what we get here. So first of all, let's go back and have a little listen to Mrs. Green Apple's version. You could see from how excited I was in my reaction. Look how excited I am. It's got to be good. Let's go. All right, we're going to listen to this first, get a bit of a feel, get our palette set, and then jump into the Ado version afterwards. Let's go. Yeah, I forgot how guitar-led this is as well. It's making more sense now hearing him sing with that extra bit of grit. Because you can tell he wrote this song for Ado. It's very raw and very rock. The vocal melody in this is... it's a great vocal melody. I'm really looking forward to hearing Ado sing this. Yeah, I remember that. Alright, this is making more sense now. This is making more sense now. Okay. Yeah, all of that big power and everything. Yeah, I can see. I mean, I remember when I heard this one, when I did my reaction to this a couple of weeks back, just thinking, wow, you know, I mean, he's got an incredible voice. I will say this, you know, I'm, as you guys know, if you watch the channel, I tend to not... there's a lot of male singers who I'm not so much into. I tend to prefer the female register of singing, especially with big arrangements. But I really enjoy his voice. I think he nails the high notes and he goes between falsetto and like normal singing really well. But this is like a really strong vocal performance here. And I kind of get it now because look, Mrs. Green Apple is one of the few artists who you can legitimately say, at least in Japanese terms, they're actually more famous than Ado. But Ado is like the person who has influenced so much change and influenced so many new singers to sing in a certain style. I know that obviously Ado gets her like influence from people like Sheena Ringo and stuff before, but Ado's style really kicked off a wave of people wanting to sing more like her, and she really influenced a lot of the people who've come since. Even though it's only been a few years, she's had a massive impact on what is the popular style of singing that a lot of artists go towards and that the general taste has gone towards. So this song, I mean, he sings it brilliantly. His voice is like nailing this, but I'm really interested to see what it sounds like in Ado's voice. I'm also interested to see if the arrangement is significantly different, because I would like to think that Mrs. Green Apple, if they were going to do their own version, they would probably do it their own way. I wonder if that kind of very direct rock sound is maybe more stripped back in the Mrs. Green Apple version. So I'm expecting Ado's version to be a little bit more fleshed out on the arrangement, because hers, she's performing it as this pop character, Uta, which is the Japanese word for song after all. I don't know. I've never seen the One Piece Red film. I'm just kind of piecing things together from a little bit I've read. All right, anyway, let's have a little listen to this now. It's fresh in my mind, and it's a great chorus this song's got as well. All right, here we go. I'm excited. Let's go. This is Ado's version, and I would argue perhaps the definitive version of I'm Invincible. Let's check it out.
怖くはない不安はない私の夢は
Much more produced in a cool way. That guitar hits so well. Strings. Yeah, the strings hit really well in this. Still got that rawness. A lot of the changes are just in the mix and the raising these strings up. I'm loving hearing it in Ado's voice. Oh, no. It sounds so effortless in her voice. These little changes are so Mrs. Green Apple, and I would have never thought just how natural it sounds in Ado's voice. I'm actually quite impressed how similar it sounds. Well, impressed, I mean, I respect it as a comparison, yeah. I really like this chorus. This jarring bit. That's really interesting because it makes more sense in kind of like that crazy dramatic Ado style of song. I forgot about this bit. Raising. Always everything raises in the background. And then down. Oh wow, that's... This leaves... This leaves me with a really interesting conclusion. Okay, I'm gonna have to work my way through it. Right. Honestly, right, let's just go through a couple of things first of all. I really love the similarities here. I just want to check the first verse. Were the strings as pronounced in the Mrs. Green Apple version? Not really. Yeah, this is the main difference. I feel like the strings seem to be more prevalent earlier on in the song. So I can see here the arrangement here is by Mrs. Green Apple and Ken Ito. Apologies, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are fans of both artists who know which one Ken Ito is associated with. I don't know if Ken Ito is associated with Mrs. Green Apple or more with Ado, but definitely it almost seems like maybe if here's the difference, he might have been responsible for sort of pushing. Oh no, he was in the programming of the original. Okay, fair enough. But yeah, it does feel like the strings are a little bit more prevalent, a little bit earlier. The mix, very marginal difference. Just whereas in the Mrs. Green Apple version, it was a little bit more raw, a little bit more biting. This had a much more, well, a slightly more slick sound here. The guitars were a little bit more produced. There was a feeling that everything kind of had a bit more of a pop sheen to it. The song itself, let's get some of the other obvious things out of the way. The song definitely does feel Mrs. Green Apple. You have to take my word for it, but I would say that if I was listening to this without knowing that it was a Mrs. Green Apple song, I think I would probably be saying something like, that sounds like a Mrs. Green Apple song. Ironically, obviously the track before this on the One Piece Red album, I... rather bizarrely during the reaction identified it as a Nakata Yasutaka song before we actually found out at the end it was a Nakata Yasutaka song. And the funny thing is that I feel like this is more of a Mrs. Green Apple song than that was a Nakata Yasutaka song. So I would say that I would probably have identified this without even knowing. But because now that I know that it's a Mrs. Green Apple written song, yeah, you can tell all the things, even the way the chorus comes in rolling on the snares. You know, he loves doing that, doesn't he? Like, big chorus comes in and before the beat drops in, you have the drum snares rolling. That's a big thing of his. And then the big triumphant strings always building up and big crescendos and those little changes like the rhythm change in the second verse. This is all very much an Omori style of writing. I would say personally, therefore, the only real difference is the vocal. Have they ever sung this together? I would love to. Do you know what? I'm actually secretly, honestly, I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do is I'm going to take both of these versions, and I think, as someone who's worked with sound production, I think I'm going to very carefully mix them together and do like a mix. I'll be, because I really want to hear them both sing this together. Now, the interesting thing, and this is the conclusion I said I was leading to, what this says about the vocals. Now, I completely understand that songs are written in a certain key or performed in a certain key, and that can be chosen to make it easier for each singer. But what was interesting here is that when you hear Omori singing it, it sounds more urgent because I feel like he almost has to push his voice more to achieve this. And as I said at the beginning, he is an incredible singer. He's very, very good singer. But you really feel like he's pushing his voice more to hit all of these notes. Whereas I think this, more than anything, says a lot for Ado, that she sounds comparatively relaxed singing this. And that would, if you told me that at the beginning, that would have surprised me. Because, you know, I think we all kind of recognize Omori's like a singer-songwriter. Ado is just like purely, she is a singing voice. So you'd expect her to be like the stronger of the two singers. But I'm quite surprised how relaxed her voice sounds in this. I said before that for a song which has so much grandeur in the arrangement, I said this during my previous reaction, I believe, for a song that has such grandeur in the arrangement, it also has kind of like a joyous, wistful, sort of beautiful feeling, which is something that Mrs. Green Apple is so good at doing, delivering these songs that have like these big, powerful arrangements, but at the same time kind of feel relaxed and like it's also a gentle summer's day whilst also being triumphant. And the weird thing is that really comes across in Ado's voice. Even when she's hitting those high notes, it kind of just feels very much it feels safe. It feels like she's fine. And I think that works. I can actually understand why Omori would have written a song like this for her, because she gets to use her range in a very beautiful way. But obviously he's written something which you can tell he knows this is more within her style of singing. And so the way she delivers it is absolutely superb. And I think this to me is a great example of a writer who really understood the goal and delivered it perfectly, and Ado delivering amazingly on this as well. And everything clicked. This makes sense. It really makes sense. It feels very much like a Mrs. Green Apple song, but it feels like it was written for Ado, and Ado's voice fits it perfectly, and it's just making me think, wow, these two should work together more. Then again, I thought the same thing after the last song. So, two collaborations down. These are two strong collaborations. Strong collaborations. I mean, Backlight, you have got the work cut out for you here. I mean, so as an album, so far, this is 2 for 2. Absolutely brilliant. And I am always honest in my reactions. If I'm not so much into something, I'll say. Is I'm Invincible, is it my favourite Mrs. Green Apple song? Is it my favourite Ado song? No. But it is something that is very much a strong example of what I like about Mrs. Green Apple's writing, and appearing on an Ado album where obviously the other songs are going to be very much more contrasted to it just by the nature of it being an album with multiple writers. It feels even more glorious because none of the Mrs. Green Apple signature qualities are watered down, because it stands out as being unique in the way that it's written. Whereas on a Mrs. Green Apple album, it's in competition with other songs that are written by the same songwriter, and therefore, it has its work more cut out to stand out. Although I must admit, so far I'm really enjoying Antenna as an album as well. Still got to finish that track by track. Like and subscribe to follow. But this really to me feels like it's in a great place. It just came after a fantastic song. Wow. Omori and Nakati Asataka writing 2 songs back to back. I don't know who wrote Backlight, and do not tell me, because I am really excited to see that and see if I can guess who wrote that. It was probably going to be someone I don't recognize after these two, but wow. So 2 for 2. This is a brilliant start to what's been a brilliant album. Do you know, when people said to me before, oh, you should check out the One Piece Red album, I don't know why, actually. Think about this in retrospect. This is probably a dumb thing to think, but I remember just thinking, but that's not really an album. It's more like a soundtrack thing. It's not really Ado doing Ado. But, I mean, Ado's still Ado, and she works with songwriters all the time, so why not work with songwriters on something that has a concept behind it? But anyway, yeah, I guess my main fear was I was thinking it was going to just be like too led by the concept of the anime, but no, it just seems to be a collection of really strong songs. And I have since, although I haven't watched the movie, I read a little bit about it to get some context to try and hopefully aid me in this. And I found out that Uta, again, Uta being the Japanese word for singing, song. Uta is the character in the One Piece Red thing, and she plays this like pop star who's like all-powerful kind of magical pop star. And so I imagine that Ado's voice is probably her voice in the anime. Wow, did they do an English dub? I mean, not that I'm a big fan of English dubs anyway, but if they did an English dub, I would love to know who they got to sing the vocals, because whoever it was, I don't think you got... Just leave the Ado version. Just leave the Ado version. Anyway, there you go. As always, those are my thoughts. Try to keep it honest. Try to keep it real. Get in the comments to tell me what you think. And until I hopefully see you very soon in Japan for the next one of these. For now, ciao, ciao.